Men er det ikke det internet, der kører på nu?
Det er bare hvad?
Jeg tror, det er det internet, der kører over.
Så bare disconnect den her, så tryk på den. Så afbryd forbindelsen. Så sørg for at lyden, og så sluk det. Og skru helt ned.
Okay.
Du burde være i gang. Jeg tjekker det, du er i gang.
face.
See.
Hmm?
Ja.
Scene.
Den skal vi bruge.
Ja.
Der er face og...
Ja. Okay.
Så vil det
Hej. Tror du... Hvad?
English probably.
English? Is there anyone online?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello. And welcome to Kenny's Corner. My name is Kenneth. I'm a Danish bass player composer, and Kenny's Corner is well, initially it's a concert series I run here in Aalborg where I invite musicians, but given that we can't really do concerts and we can definitely not invite musicians to come play here in Aalborg, then we thought here in Jasnitus that it would be nice to do some stuff online. And we did duo sessions here from Vor Frue Kirke, the church here. We're so lucky that they're gonna they've let us use the church here in the lockdown period, so I can practice here and we can do duo sessions. And today we can do this online composition thing. And with me I have Lucas, the main man behind Jasnitus. And he helps with all the technical stuff and artistic sparring and stuff like that. It's very nice to be more people involved in a process like this. And today I'm going to talk a bit about composition and maybe let you in on the process of something completely fresh. I did this once before, and we talked about ways how to create material, and we're going to talk a bit about that today as well. And then I'll just try to compose something while you are watching, and talk about it while I'm doing it. There's a few disclaimers. I do use the piano for these things, but I am not a piano player, so if you are a piano player, please bear in mind that you may have skills that I don't have. But it's just nice to have the tool of the piano once you start figuring out pitches. If you don't have perfect, I don't have perfect pitch at all. So it's nice to have a keyboard or a piano, or a grand piano in an empty church would also do. If there's any questions along the way, just please feel free to ask them in the chat, and we can go that direction. And anything goes. I have no idea what level you are on. I'm not even sure what level I am on composition-wise, but I've done it a lot, and with experience, I also realized that it's sometimes it's just hard work. Because composing is nice, and it's a nice thing to sit and do and be creative and have an output for whatever emotional stuff you may have inside of you, or just musical ideas. But sometimes composing is also something that you need to do with a deadline. So you kind of just have to do it, and for that I think I came up with certain ways of provoking the creative aspect of it, because that's difficult, right? I mean, in a perfect world, the music would just flow from you, but sometimes it's impossible. So we have an example for you today, and I hope it goes well, but sometimes it also just it doesn't really work and nothing really happens. But just gonna have a sip of my coffee. Slurp. Today we have been talking here in Aalborg. We've been talking with the Utzon Center. There's a famous Danish architect, Jørn Utzon, who you may know the Opera House in Sydney. So he designed that, and he also and now there's something here in Aalborg called the Utzon Center. And they were reaching out to us if we wanted to do concerts, and love to do concerts, always. But then we wanted to add on top that maybe we could also do compositions for them, for some of their exhibitions and some of their, what do you call them, like architects competitions, that where we have, or it's on the website, there's access to whatever material the architects may need to compose something. And one of the things they're doing right now is I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, but they want to do a concert hall in the middle of a cave in Lebanon. It's called the Jeita Grotto. I don't know if grotto is an English word. Someone knows, just let me know. And we just downloaded these sketches, and I'll see if I can somehow make a composition with this very, kind of sparse information that I don't have. Now Lucas wants to tell me something.
Just saying that this is actually an old sketch. It was an old project. It's called Unbuilt, so it was never built, but it's reimagining something.
Amazing.
And also hi from Bjarne Andersen.
Hi Bjarne.
He's, looking forward to learn.
Yeah, so what I have here, I see if I can show you. So where I would go about this, I think I want to have like two ways into this. I would definitely make use of these sketches. I guess this is a sketch of the cave and how it would work. So that fireball in here would be like an amphitheater inside the cave. I would somehow make use of that. That could be an idea for something. And then usually when I compose, I try to make a sketch of the form before I start. So maybe that would be one of the first things I would do. So I can see here that the form could be like the cave somehow. Let me see if I can go about this somehow. Okay, so it's kind of like that. So what I see here is definitely a dynamic curve. Let me just pull down the paper a little bit. All right, and then we have this line on here, which I guess it's a pathway for people to walk on. All right, so now we're getting somewhere. And then we have these little things. I don't know what that is, but it's definitely helpful for me. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So already here. Now what I'm doing now is not being creative. That's I have to say that it's more like I'm building material for myself to work with, because if I have just unlimited possibilities, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, yeah, that's, oh my god. If I have unlimited material, then I won't get anything done. If I just sit down by the piano and just be like, do something amazing, then it's not gonna happen, because I can go anywhere I want to, and that doesn't work. So I need to set up a playground for myself, or some boundaries where I can work within. So what we have here now, I think, is I think this is a nice way of using how does it go in the end? Okay, so it goes all the way up. I think this is a really nice way of using a sketch to compose something with. Let me just check it out. So now I've sorted out that the composition kind of have 9 different form bits, 9 different parts. Parts is the word I was looking for. And now we kind of want to have to find. We have to find some material, and then another thing I like to do. I will get to this this drawing with numbers that you see later. Maybe we use that for pitch material or harmony or something like that. This cave is in Lebanon. It's just northeast of Beirut, on the way to Tripoli, I guess, up north, and then it's in the mountains. And what I really like to do when I compose is also to see if I can have like a personal attachment to the composition. And for those of you just tuning in, I'm sorry if this feels unprepared. It's not unprepared, it's just that we wanted to do it very fresh, so I just received this whole thing. So you can kind of get a glimpse on the process that I'm going through when I compose. Yeah, so I've been on tour in Lebanon, and I went there with a trio I played with a lot in France called the Gautier Toux trio. We were invited by the, what do you call it, Alliance Française, the French Institute, I think, to play in Beirut and Tripoli. And to be honest, coming from Denmark, my imagination of Beirut and Lebanon in general was that I was a bit scared to go there, to be honest, because of the war. I guess that was in the 90s, and because the media up here in Scandinavia, and I guess in most of Western Europe, they tell us about Lebanon of being an unsafe place to go. Okay, so I just want to tell you that it's beautiful, but my first thoughts was that it's unsafe, and then I went there, and it's beautiful. It's so nice, and the people are just the sweetest people in the world. All like there's like this big line of cities towards the Mediterranean, and it's very exotic to go there. And also the food, maybe the best food in the world, close to it. We had some really great baba ganoush and stuff like that, and I just really enjoyed my time there, and had some really interesting talks with some local musicians and some local people, and so my point is that I was very surprised that it didn't feel unsafe at all. They did have tanks in the streets still, and there were some military, and there were also some places where we were told not to go. But I guess that was far away from where we were, and I guess that was more camps where you shouldn't go anyway, up in the mountains. That was in Beirut, and in Tripoli up north, that felt a bit more closed and closer to the Syrian border, I guess, which was pretty unstable at the time, and I guess it still is. That's very sad. So in Tripoli, we were supposed to be a bit more careful, and we played in the theater in the city. So, with that story in mind, I would draw on my own experiences, and maybe create something that goes from feeling unsafe to like something that's very beautiful, and I actually also think it was very like life affirming to experience people. You can see it all. I'll have Lucas zoom out once he gets back. So there's definitely also like a process here that goes from some place to another place, and that gives me material that unsafe. Maybe that has like a dark sound to it, So with dark, I mean, well, that could be in sense of harmony could be dark, right? I mean, could have dark harmony. For example, I think that's dark harmony, something like that. And one of the things I also would like to add is that it's very open, and maybe we could just, thank you, go about this one. Then we kind of have to do something. Okay. Lucas, could you help out with this one? Just move the camera a little bit. Or move the paper, Kenneth. Sorry. So now we have unsafe and dark going somehow to beautiful, life-affirming and open. Okay. But that's my take on Lebanon in general. That really doesn't have anything to do with the cave, but I think there's two sides of everything. So I think it's nice to have more aspects inside of it. We still didn't figure out any harmony or anything. We just talked about some stories, and now we have a form. Okay, so I would definitely see A as an intro mood setter, if that's an English word, I don't know. It's something we say in Danish. Then on B, I would present melody. Yeah. On C, I would create more sound. Just bring in band maybe, or repeat intro. In new setting, let's say like that. Then I don't limit myself too much. It could be more instruments. It could also be different harmonies, or maybe some upper structures. Upper structures mean, well, that's a whole thing in itself, but let's say that the intro consists of some chords. We don't want to determine it now, but let's just say that, for example, the intro is C minor, and then maybe, I don't know, A flat minor. That's harmony that I like, and I think it's dark, and I think it has a sound to it. So that's C minor and A flat minor. If you want to work with upper structures basically just notes up high in the picture or above the chords that gives it another sound. So you don't want to repeat what you already have. You already have C, E flat, and G. So maybe we just have an upper structure of I don't know, something out of that tonality. So maybe the note B is nice. And maybe the note F sharp is nice. Let's try it. So that's like a fifth. So we have our C. Okay. Something I would be creative at some point. I would determine, maybe in this situation, I would determine the material I use for harmony, and then I would play around with upper structures. Let me just do it once more. I don't think the F sharp was too nice though. I do like the B. So let's say we work with small intervals now. So B is part of the upper structure, and maybe D as well. So now we have thirds moving around. on. That could create a melody. I can hear like maybe a guitar play this, maybe even the piano, or the bass. I think when it comes to being creative, you kind of have to have reference, or I mean, we all have reference, but I guess the more reference we have, the easier it is to be creative, because whatever reference, maybe sounds you have, that feeds melodies to you, because it feeds your imagination. Okay, let's move on a little bit. So now we are already 33% through the form of this composition. Now I could actually start working on this, but let's just try and write down more stuff. Again, this is not creativity. This is just limiting yourself. So I just come up with ideas for the form now, and then we start making music at some point. We already did a little. I'm actually, I do like those two chords together for this setting, but yeah. So A and C is kind of the same thing. I like that. So we have a melody that's presented here. I don't know how long it is, but I do know that there's a bit of a dynamic change going into B and also going into C. So they're kind of like together, and I do like that these are together as well. So I would do same as B, come to realize that maybe this is a really, really nice place to be. And then at some point we need contrast. So here we kind of have to be creative. Maybe we'll look at the material we have here and see what's the opposite of this, or where could we go? What pitch ideas do we have to make this to make some contrast here? This could also be a solo part, but I do like to present a whole thing before we move into improvisation, which could be here, impro. By impro I mean like the band still plays some of the material, but maybe there's a soloist, maybe there's even two soloists at the same time. And the thing about this impro is that the dynamic range is still like kind of going up. We could move this thing around, but I like the fact that it's that the cave has the form of the dynamic curve. So the soloist would have to start loud. So trumpet, I guess. No, I don't know. Then I like, if we're writing for a larger ensemble, we don't know yet, but let's assume that we are, then I would write backing for whatever is going on here. So the soloist still plays on G, and maybe F and G are kind of similar. Maybe we change the harmony a little bit. Maybe we move towards a modulation over here. We can see about that, but these definitely go together. So I would have part of the band backing up the soloist, and then I would bring in the rest of the band maybe here to create colors, create tension, or just underline what's already being said here. It's nice to have, if you have some chords on piano, for example, I don't know, we could do this again, and then you would bring in just trombones playing that. If you have 3 or 4 trombones, you could have them play. Maybe trombones, you have to spread them out a little bit, but that's an arrangement thing, because this is too low if you play it, so you would have to spread out the voicings, something like this maybe. So fifth, then a minor second. That would sound nice in trombones, but on the other hand, if you do it in trumpets, so you could have like you could bring in a voicing where trombones outline the chords, and then the trumpets they play whatever upper structures we determined in the intro. So let's say we're talking C minor now, so trombones play maybe even that rhythm like a bell thing. Then trumpets could play like 3 trumpets with a mute, maybe, I don't know. Now we're being creative. Let's wait with that. I just wanted to talk a bit about that because I think that's very interesting how you make use of the orchestra. If you're writing for a smaller group, some of these things may not be super relevant all the time. Like backings, for example, can be tricky, but backing could also just be that the rhythm section plays something very specific, something that's written down, maybe even some kicks. Kicks means rhythmic patterns or whatever. That's always nice, also for the drummer, so you kind of have to keep him focused, so he doesn't just play 4/4, go. Okay, so now we had the soloist, we had the backing, and now it would be nice to hear the melody again, and then maybe I'm just gonna write in melody in major. It doesn't mean major because let's not limit ourselves to either minor or major. Let's move around a bit with the harmonies and see where we can go with voice leading, but definitely having the melody presented again. One thing I do like is that if we do composition like this, like a bigger thing, then I do like that we don't repeat too much the same things. So often my scores, they get pretty long because we don't go back and repeat something. We just play through the whole thing because I think that's a nice, that's interesting. Also, if I watch a movie, I wouldn't watch the same scene later in the movie. Is that a stupid? No, maybe it works. I don't know where Lucas went, so if you have any questions or comments, I can't see them, but I guess he'll come in if needed. I think he's out in the back. So present the melody again in major, and then modulation, maybe, because that's always nice. And then I would do an outro. Outros are difficult. That's a whole art form to write a nice ending. It took me. Well, I didn't really learn it yet, but I'm still searching. I didn't learn anything yet. I think it's a process that you have to go through for the rest of your life. You always become a better composer. I do a recording, and then 6 months after, I can see all the mistakes because I gradually become a better composer because you study, you work, and you do your research. So what you did in the past doesn't really work for you anymore, maybe. But I think that's okay. I think you just need to compose and get it out there. Then you did that. Then you put out an album. Then you were there, and of course you move on and you become better. And if you check out some of the really great jazz artists out there, like Wayne Shorter's albums, they're so different throughout the years, and I guess that's also why, or that's because he studied, he worked, he created stuff, he wanted to do new things, and so you kind of just have to come to peace with the fact that you evolve and you get more skillful, or you just develop different taste. So maybe in 6 months, when I look back at this video, I think I would sound like a fool, but maybe not. Hopefully not. I don't know. Maybe you think, but it doesn't matter. It's fine. What I'm trying to say is that it's all good. Just work. Just have fun with it and just try stuff. Just always be curious. I think that's key. Curiosity and consistency has really helped me a lot in being a musician. All right. Now we have a form. We know what to do. We can create. I mean, if all of these if they're like 1.5 minutes, we have a 13-minute composition, right? That's a lot. So we don't even need to write that much music. Now we just, maybe they have 1 minute each. That's a 9-minute composition, and maybe the impro is open. And both maybe the impro and the intro is open, so now you have like around maybe 11, 12 minutes of music, which is, I guess that would be your aim when you compose like this, where the composition constantly moves. And yeah. That's how I like to do it. I think this is good. So now let's create some melodic and harmonic content to work with. Yeah? Good. Hello. All right. So you see up here, that's a sketch of up in the, what's that, the right upper corner. There's a sketch. It's called the Jeita Grotto. I'm not an architect, so I'm not sure what it is. But what I can see is that it's a lot of numbers, and I guess it's measures for building stuff. But it's definitely something that we could somehow create melodic material around, and harmonic pitch. We can create pitch material, which is something that we really like. So I think it's nice to assume that we are in a minor thing in the beginning. I know I said that we can't determine if it's minor or major, but the fact that I went to Lebanon with some worries and stuff like that, I think that's like a minor mood. So let's just stay in the C minor thing. Also, for new viewers, this is very fresh. I just got these things, so we are kind of composing along the way. So what I see is, the first one, if we look in the bottom left corner, is that it says 1, 2, 9. Okay, let's see what we can do with that. 1, 2, 9.5. Okay. Good. So if we're in C minor, 1, C minor, that's the first, what do you call it, step. Then we have a D minor, diminished, or, if we're in C minor, then we also in E flat major. And the 7th, or the second mode of the C minor, would be a diminished chord, or what do you call it, half diminished chord. I don't know how many of you are up to date with musical theory, but this is taken from the church modes of music. So if you determine that you are working around C minor, and we are working with triads now, we're not working with 4-note chords. then C minor, and that would mean that we have accidentals at E flat, A flat, and B flat. So if we build up a triad from D, that would mean that we build up a D minor flat 5. So first two chords, or if we work with this, then it will be. So that's the melodic material we have now. We have C. Let me just do so we can see it better. See it better. C minor, D minor flat 5. Then it says 9. This one is tricky because 9 is actually the same as 2, right? So we have only, in a scale, we have only 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it repeats, so 8 would be C again, and that means that D would be 9. But let's see what we can do with that. That's actually interesting. And then it says 5, I think. 5 would be a G minor chord, because that's the 5th mode of the C Aeolian. We have them C minor. Let me spell it out. Maybe I should write it out. C minor, D minor flat 5, E flat, F minor, G minor, A flat, B flat, and C minor. Right? Yes, I think so. Sounds so stupid when you play them like that, but that's what it is. Okay, so now we definitely know that we do have I do like this. So we kind of just repeat the D minor flat 5 because it's the same thing. Maybe we could do when we start building up melodies and instrumentation. Maybe we can invert that thing so it doesn't have that. Let's try that. So meaning 9. Let's just determine that 9 is an inversion of this one. So maybe it's let's have the F in the bottom of it instead of the D. Still use the same chord, so that would mean like an F minor 6. F minor 6 is the same chord as a D minor flat 5. It has the same notes. D minor flat 5 is D, F, and A flat. F minor 6 is F, A flat, and D. And there's a C in there somewhere, but let's leave that one out. Okay, I'm just gonna show you. Okay, so let's play around with these three chords: C minor, D minor flat 5, F minor 6, and G minor. So there's a cool thing happening now, because now we have what we call an ascending bass line, and I like that. So C minor. We have some material that we can use. I think this sounds really nice. I don't know about the F minor 6. Maybe we can make that more dramatic somehow. So what I would do now, I would stay here a bit longer. I don't think that 4 chords is enough to create like whatever we need. So let's see if we could find more stuff to work with in the the grotto picture. Let's move up a little bit. So what it says above the 129.5 is that it says 2 on the left, and then it has 2 numbers. Okay, let's see if we can do something with this. We determined that we are in C minor. Well, then maybe 2 means, I'm gonna write that out here. Yeah, my sketches are a mess. You should see my desk. Well, my students, they've seen my office. I'm sorry. So let's say that 2, maybe it changes tonality now to the 2nd degree of C minor, and now we are working in a Locrian scale. It's still the same thing. There's nothing changed here. It's just it's still the same pitch. It's C minor, but now we're starting on a D, which gives us a Locrian sound with a flat 2. That's a fun sound, I think, scale-wise. If we have. So let's work with that. It says. So now we moved to the 2nd degree, and we have the same number, but now we are in D Locrian. So let's say that 1 is D Locrian, or D minor flat 5, which means that the 129.5 goes to D minor flat 5. That's the first chord. The second chord would be an E flat, because that's the 2nd degree of the D Locrian scale. So E flat, what do we have? Like 1, 2, 9. So that's the same thing again. Maybe we do the same thing with flipping the bass note on this one, and then the last one is the 5th. So that's an A flat. Okay, so these chords, they definitely sound a bit more strange, but let's hear them. Second one really feels like we're coming home. Let's see if we can make it sound better. Maybe we need a pedal point. But let's try to play all the chords in a row. So we have C minor, D minor flat 5, F minor 6 or something. G minor, going to D minor flat 5, E flat over G, and A flat. That's our chord material for now. Let's see if we can make it sound good. I actually like that. I don't know who's listening. I don't know if anyone's listening, but I don't know if you. I think now I just let my taste, whether that's bad or good, make a few changes for me. And I think now we have enough material that we kind of start being creative. I really didn't like the fact that we went to the this E flat. I don't think that's a nice. I mean, I don't think it has enough tension that. It sounds like everything's ending, and well, not the world, but you know, like we're coming home in the composition, and maybe this should be the very last chord. So what I did here was maybe we could add. So that would be an E flat sus4, and it just has so one of the things I don't like about, okay, I'll just play it for you. And then moving on. So there's a few things that I like when I compose. It's not possible all the time, but I really do like having glue between the harmony, and with glue I mean a note that passes through both chords. And with triads that's very difficult. Very difficult, but just it doesn't really work here, because here we have D, F and A flat moving to E flat, G and B flat, so that's basically just moving up the scales. So if we keep the A flat, maybe it sounds nice. It sounds nice. And then I added a note on the E flat here as well. E flat at 2 over G. There's so many names for chords, and I kind of sometimes get stuck on chord symbols. They kind of steal my creativity sometimes, so I'm super careful with using them too much. But I think it's better to use voicings, but that takes a bit more time composing wise, and also you kind of have to write it down and stuff like that. But there's definitely some gold hidden in using voicings instead of chord symbols, because chord symbols, I mean, if you see a D minor flat 5, you could do this, you could do this, you could do, I mean, you can do whatever. But with if you write specific voicings, then you kind of, that's the only thing you can do. So it kind of steals some creativity playing wise, but there's definitely it doesn't limit you to a chord symbol. It doesn't limit you to theory. It just enables you to do voice leading in a really nice way if you only do voicings. And with voicings, I mean, you would write down, so C, and maybe you would have G, and this is very small, and then maybe you would have an E flat on top. Okay, so that would be your C minor voicing. This, and then you could voice lead this. So with voice leading, I mean, maybe you would go for finding the next possible note on the next chord. So this means you just move everything up. Yeah, makes sense? I hope so. So I think that sounds nice. Alright, let's play through the chords. Now we have material. It's C minor, D minor flat 5, F minor 6-ish. G minor, going to D minor flat 5, E flat sus 4, E flat at 2 over G, and then A flat. A flat, it could have a color of something, but let's try it. Let's do it with the voicing I just had. Now I'll try a true voice lead. Oh, I'm not a piano player. I play bass. Okay. just had an idea that this goes from major to minor. Okay, I have to do the whole sketch again, but let's just play through it a little bit. I'm just gonna play with it. What I did now was just try to let my ears come up with some melodic content and to kind of check out where my ears had other ideas than the written material. So where could I add colors that are not given? And there was only, well, there was a few places where it would be nice, but I definitely think that playing, for example, the ninth of the chord is nice here, because on G minor we have the note A. You see, this is my my sketches. They suck because if I just looked at this, I would think that okay, so this is the A form, but I mean the note A. I could also put it here. Maybe that's better. So it's nice sometimes, and that's also one of the things I try to mention about the upper structures. It's nice sometimes to have something that's out of the tonality, and A is definitely not a part of C minor. That would be C Dorian. Then we would be in the key of B flat instead of E flat. So now I'm going to try to come up with some other material content, and then try to emphasize that A. Maybe, for example, if we play a melody that kind of moves around, that's like has the same idea. Let's see. Let's do this specific line. I don't know if I remember it. Okay, so let's move that thing up just a half a step. I like this. Let's see if we can pin that. It's trouble. determine the pitch too much. Not the pitch, the rhythm. Right, so this definitely belongs to the first harmony, and then this one to the second. Then what we did on the F minor is that we went up just a half step, just moved the whole thing. So it started on A flat. We're still in the scale, so. Okay. It's nice to make use of bigger intervals at some point. Some point I start singing when I compose, and that's a nightmare, so I'm trying not to because I'm a really bad singer. I'm a horrible piano player, I'm an even worse singer. Okay, but now we have melodic content, and that's good. Let's see if we can play it, if I can remember it. This is very dramatic, and now I kind of played it like in a rubato feel, right? In 4/4. That could be anything. That's why I didn't want to write rhythms. We could also. Be whatever, you know. It's like you just put the durations on your pitch, and then you have your rhythm somehow. It could also be like, could it be 11? Yeah, it could be anything, but. You come up with claves. This is why you practice your claves, so that when you compose, you can basically just assign a meter to every bar. So this could be 5/4, going to 11/8, going to 4/4, 3/4, whatever. I do like rhythms, but what I like the most is that I want the rhythmic freedom to phrase my melodies however I want. So, and that's, I feel that that's a thing that I've developed over the last few years. So maybe that's one of the things where I can feel that I've evolved as a composer, that I don't restrain myself to, like, for example, if I would begin a score with writing 7/8, then I'm fucked, because then I'm kind of locked there. So I would rather just, where's the phrasing, what's the melody, what does it want to do, and that's where I get creative again with the meters. So maybe this one actually ends up with being 5/4, going to 4/4, going to 7/8, going to 4/4, right? The same melodic material, so that, oh shit. Right? So you have 5/4, 7/4. But that's just an example. All right, I think we have a lot of material now. I think we actually have a sketch for, well, these three things. So the intro, let's say the intro is just the chords, right? But played like really. Now we just stick with 4/4 because it's relatable and we don't have to think too much. And then I'll work on phrasing the melody in new meters, maybe after I switched off the cameras, or for lesson number 2. Lesson, is it a lesson? I don't think it's a lesson. It's more like a peek into my chaotic mind. Yeah. Okay, so intro. One of the things I liked in when we stayed in this hotel in Beirut, and I got up. Apparently I got up really early in the morning because the mosques they have these services, and this guy singing 4 or 5 times a day. It sounds incredible. So if we could mimic that somehow, I'm not sure I can, but I just imagine that with a bit of work, that would be a really nice. I'm not gonna mimic the singing, but the sound of it. There's these phrases and this rich, beautiful culture of music they use, and but that could be a violin or a soprano saxophone or something. Let's see if we can do something. So that's not part of the melody. It's more phrasing, and then the chords kind of. That's how I imagine it. They come in. was just an idea to change tonality. I usually spend, well, I guess you can tell because we've been online for over an hour and we wrote 8 bars, and also it's just ideas for now, but it does take a long time to make something where you feel that you are attached to the composition somehow. But I think it's a really nice process, and I think it's something that has value, because you don't just come up with stuff, you actually do some research and you kind of try to figure out how you are a part of this composition, and I think that's very nice. And now I'll take this home and I'll work it out, and hopefully you get to hear the full composition at some point.
Maybe we take this up to the next one.
Maybe we could continue this on the next one for sure. That would be very nice. And
so Kenneth is not allowed to work on it.
Okay, I'm not allowed to work on it. No.
Only work on it down here.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We can do that.
And perhaps we are thinking about how this can.
Yes, this is Lucas.
Oh. So we are actually thinking about doing some more concerts here from the church, if all is well. And I was thinking about it could be fun to actually have the musicians coming here and also try some of these things out and use that dialogue that is between trying to play something that is unfinished actually. And trying it out with different musicians and see how that actually feeds back into your creative process.
Right.
Which I think that was.
That would be beautiful. I love it.
We might even be doing this every night for the next week. So this sourdough will get a lot of work.
Yeah.
Right?
Hmm? Yeah. Anyways, this is.
Try and play it just before we end. Just give it a go through it.
Yep. Okay, I'll try and play it, and then I think I'll try to do letter D as well. Just it may not work, but I'll see where my ears take me. I want to do the same melody, but with new harmony.
Can I say something? You are not very happy about your own singing, but it works very well for us to hear your ideas, and you should do what you feel like.
Okay.
But to me, as someone listening, it's really, really nice to get all of you out there.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. We'll see. Okay, so let's set up the intro. Let's play present the melody. Repeat the intro in a new setting. Oh yeah. All right. we'll see. Hey, if there's anyone out there, thank you so much for watching. This was fun. I enjoyed it. And I think I do enjoy this composition. So let's see where it goes. Have a good day. Thank you for watching. Take care of yourself during these difficult times, and come out and listen to some music soon. And please do follow Jasnitus here on whatever channel you're on. I guess it's probably Facebook. Go in, like the page, and see what we're up to, because there's some super cool things happening. And next week we are doing a lot of live content with all the beautiful musicians that we have here in Aalborg. And yeah, we have big news coming up, but we'll tell you more about that later. So please stay tuned. Have a good day. Ciao, ciao.